The Book of Thoth is tied to the Egyptian god of wisdom, moon, writing and magic. The earliest mentions came from Egyptian sources describing a 5,000-year-old magical book containing powerful rituals and spells to predict the future or to communicate with gods and understand the universe. During the 3rd century BC, the Greeks, led by Alexander the Great, adopted much of Egyptian culture, including Thoth and his teachings. They merged him with their god Hermes, leading to the creation of the Corpus Hermeticum, a new version of the book intertwined with Greek philosophy. It spoke of humanity's exalted place in creation, suggesting that humans had divine powers and responsibilities to enhance the world. Over time, due to the decline of pagan belief systems, much of the original Egyptian wisdom associated with Thoth was lost or suppressed. However, the Renaissance in the 1300s ignited a revival of ancient Greek and Egyptian ideas, challenging the existing church orthodoxy. Later, secret societies like the Freemasons incorporated the book's themes of rebirth and wisdom into their rituals. As Freemasonry flourished, new interpretations of those original teachings emerged, yet the specifics of the Book of Thoth itself remained elusive. The book also left a deep mark on the origins of tarot. French occultist Antoine Cour de Gebelin proposed that tarot cards were encoded wisdom from the Book of Thoth. In 1773, he claimed that tarot was actually the Book of Thoth, suggesting that the term tarot came from Egyptian words meaning royal road. This connection was later embraced by occultists like Jean-Baptiste Alliette and Aleister Crowley. Crowley created a new version of the Book of Thoth as part of his occult teachings, blending Egyptian themes with his own philosophies, promoting a new religion called Thelema. Archaeological discoveries in Egypt have revealed texts related to the Book of Thoth, yet there is an ongoing debate about whether a physical book ever existed. The Rosetta Stone enabled scholars to decipher ancient Egyptian scripts, unveiling references to magic not in a supernatural sense, but more oriented towards understanding natural phenomena. The spells found in papyri were more about prayers. Researchers found clues suggesting the Book of Thoth might represent a collection of ancient Egyptian knowledge rather than a singular work. The blood flag or Blutfahne was one of the most infamous relics of the Nazi regime. It originated during the failed beer hall putsch of 1923, a failed coup by Nazi party leader Adolf Hitler and other Kampfbund members during the Weimar Republic. Here, Nazi marchers were met with police gunfire. Numerous died, many were arrested. An SA man, Andreas Bauriedl, was shot and fell onto the flag, staining it with his blood. This flag, carried by Heinrich Trambauer during the putsch, later became an object of almost religious reverence within the Nazi party. After Hitler's release from prison, the flag was returned to him, engraved with the names of the 16 fallen coup participants. It was treated as a sacred artifact, often used in ceremonies to sanctify other banners by touching them with the Blutfahne. The flag was displayed prominently at Nazi events and guarded at the Brown House, the party's Munich headquarters. Its last confirmed public appearance was in 1944 at a mass conscription event. After that, it disappeared, likely lost or destroyed during the Allied bombings of Munich in 1945. Its whereabouts remain unknown. The Oera Linda book is a manuscript written in Old Frisian that discusses historical, mythological and religious themes from 2000 BC to 800 AD. It was discovered in 1867 when Cornelis over de Linden gave it to the Friesland librarian Eco Verwijs for translation, but he refused to publish it. In 1872, Jan Gerhardus Othema published a Dutch translation, believing it to be authentic, Arabic, and William Sandbach translated it into English in 1876. The book quickly became popular among occultists but was dismissed by many historians as a forgery, in that case copied documents rather than misinformation. In 1922, Dutch philologist Herman Wiert revived interest in the book, labeling it the Nordic Bible and influencing the creation of Ahnenerbe by SS leader Heinrich Himmler, an organization in Nazi Germany promoting racial theories. The book says that Europe was ruled by female leaders folk presiding over orders of celibate priestesses dedicated to the goddess Freya, the ancient Germanic love goddess, daughter of the creator god Veralda and the Earth Mother. It also mentions a lost land named Atlant, akin to Atlantis. The text describes cataclysmic events in the year 2194 BC, leading to the submergence of land and the upheaval of society. In one excerpt, it describes dark times when the earth trembled, fires erupted and mountains changed shape, with Atlant disappearing under the sea while the land was consumed by chaos. The book also suggests that the Frisian civilization had a writing system that influenced Greek and Phoenician alphabets. Some scholars argue that the book reveals truths about ancient European cultures, linking practices described within to later witchcraft traditions. Most academics consider the document a hoax. Some see it as a suppressed piece of history. The Ubaid Lizardmen are a set of strange 7,000-year-old clay figurines discovered in Tel al-Ubaid, but also the cities and Eridu in Iraq, dating back to the prehistoric Ubaidian culture in ancient Mesopotamia. Much like the Sumerians, the origins of the Ubaidian people remain a mystery. The figurines depict humanoid reptiles with long heads, almond-shaped eyes, scales and lizard-like noses. Many are depicted wearing helmets and shoulder padding, while some hold staffs or scepters, possibly signifying authority. Each figurine has a different pose, including a female breastfeeding. Strangely, the baby is also represented with lizard-like features. These artifacts were excavated by Henry Reginald Hall in 1919 and have sparked ongoing debate over their purpose. Since most figurines were found in houses, tombs and temples, some suggest they were used for religious ceremonies, offerings or as children's toys. Others say the lizardmen are just deities or mythological creatures that were worshipped in this region. Their resemblance to serpentine deities and reptilian gods like the Sumerian god Enki further fuels these theories. Like the Aztecs, who worshipped Quetzalcoatl, depicted as a feathered serpent. Another interpretation is that they represent shapeshifters or had a role in shamanic rituals. In many cultures, reptiles are linked to ideas of transformation and renewal, and these statuettes might have been made to represent those powers. Some suggest a connection to the ancient astronaut theory, positing these lizard figures as representations of extraterrestrial visitors. They refer to texts like the Bible, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and other ancient writings to back the idea that advanced extraterrestrial beings visited Earth and played a role in the development of early civilizations. What's even more curious is their resemblance to reptilian figures found at the Horyuji Temple in Nara, Japan. Apparently, other lizardmen figurines have also been found in Central America and Southeast Asia. Some also connect them with the Naga, serpent-like beings from various Asian religious traditions. The Ubaid Lizardmen remain a mystery. The Hexham Heads are a pair of small stone heads unearthed in 1971 in Hexham, England, by two boys, Colin and Leslie Robson, digging in their garden. After showing them to a local priest, the Robsons and their neighbors began experiencing strange occurrences, including objects moving on their own, bottles being hurled across rooms, and even sightings of a half-goat, half-man figure. The two heads were eventually given to Anne Ross, an expert in Celtic artifacts. She examined the heads and linked them to Celtic traditions where human heads were venerated as seeds of the soul. While the heads were in her possession, Ross and her family reported sightings of a wolf-like creature that moved through their home and doors bursting open without cause. Eventually, Dr. Ross decided to send them to the Museum of Antiquities to end the disturbances. A man named Desmond Craigie later claimed he made the heads in the 50s, but his replicas did not convincingly match the originals. The original heads were then analyzed by Professor Dearman of the University of Newcastle, who suggested they were molded artificially, not carved. Eventually, the heads vanished in 1978 with their last custodian, Frank Hyde, who apparently was an astrologer who lived in northwest London. He experimented on the heads, wrapping them in a homemade Faraday cage, but after a car crash he mysteriously vanished, and the Hexham Heads with him. The Rohonc Codex is a mysterious 448-page manuscript by an unknown author, discovered in Hungary when an antiquarian donated the codex to the Hungarian Academy of Sciences in 1838. But before that, it was already catalogued as a book of Hungarian prayers in 1743. It's written in an unknown language and script with 87 crude illustrations depicting religious, unknown historical and military scenes. The codex blends Christian, pagan, and Islamic symbols, sparking speculation about a harmonious society of mixed beliefs. The text features over 800 unique symbols, suggesting it may not be an alphabet but rather a logographic system like Chinese characters. Dated to the mid-16th century, the paper on which it's written is Venetian, but the codex's true origin remains unclear. While some believe it could be an ancient Hungarian document, others consider it a hoax. Some research speculated connections to the Tatars, Sanskrit, or even a lost Vulgar version of Latin, which were all falsified. In 2018, researchers made progress. By using statistical analysis of its symbols, they discovered a calendar related to Christian events and began decoding words related to biblical figures, achieving a breakthrough with about 400 out of 800 symbols. But many questions about its purpose and meaning remain unanswered. The codex remains in the Hungarian Academy of Sciences with access restricted for further studies. The Dropa Stones are claimed to be ancient stone discs from 12,000 years ago, said to be inscribed with markings that narrate an alien crash landing on Earth. The story first appeared in a German magazine in July 1962 and mentions an expedition led by Dr. Chipu Tei in 1937 to the Bayan Har Mountains in China. There, in a cave on the border between China and Tibet, explorers reportedly found strange wall inscriptions, star maps, and unusual skeletons, along with over 700 stone discs covered in tiny hieroglyphs. The discs are described as about a foot in diameter, featuring double spiral grooves with hieroglyphs. After years of study at the Academy of Prehistory in Beijing, some Chinese archaeologists claimed to have translated the markings, concluding that the discs were created by extraterrestrials or the Dropa people, who crashed their spaceship and faced hostility from humans before succumbing to their fate. This interpretation was published by Zum Nui in an academic journal, but it was met with skepticism. The tale was later retold in the Soviet magazine Sputnik in 1966, alleging that the discs contained metals and produced sounds. In 1974, Austrian engineer Ernst Wegerer reportedly saw and photographed the stones in the Banpo Museum in Xi'an, Shaanxi, but by 1994 they had vanished. Currently, there is no evidence supporting the existence of these discs or their associated stories, prompting plans for new research in the remote area where they were supposedly found. The Philosopher's Stone is a legendary artifact central to the history of alchemy, often portrayed as a powder capable of transforming base metals like lead into gold and granting healing abilities or immortality. Originating in 300 AD, it is mentioned in Zosimus of Panopolis' texts and may trace its mythical roots to ancient Greece or even biblical lore, where figures like Adam were said to possess its secrets. The concept evolved through Islamic alchemists who formalized alchemical transmutation practices, and later through European figures like Paracelsus, who linked it to the mythical Alcahest, a universal solvent and element he considered the Philosopher's Stone. The stone symbolized a perfect balance of the four classical elements and was often associated with spiritual enlightenment alongside material transformation. In Eastern traditions, it paralleled the Sintamani stone, representing spiritual and material fulfillment. Most descriptions of the stone depicted it as a vibrant red or glass-like object. The creation of the stone is linked to the magnum opus, a complex alchemical process. Famous seekers included Sir Isaac Newton, Roger Boyle, and Nicolas Flamel, who allegedly succeeded in creating it but left no proof. Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II was absolutely obsessed by the idea of the Philosopher's Stone. His lifelong ambition was to discover it, and he spared no expense in inviting Europe's top alchemists like Edward Kelly and John Dee to his court. Although alchemists never produced the stone, their experiments laid the foundation for modern chemistry and pharmacology. The Phaistos Disc is a clay disc from Crete, dating back to the Minoan Bronze Age, roughly 1800 to 1600 BC. At first, it was considered a forgery, but is now generally accepted as authentic. Discovered in 1908 at the Palace of Phaistos, it features 45 distinct stamped symbols, making it an early form of movable type printing. The symbols, depicting objects like birds, humans, and plants, are generally believed to represent a script, but their meaning remains undeciphered despite theories linking them to Greek, Luwian, Hittite, or Egyptian languages. Linguist and archaeologist Gareth Owens claims he figured out the phonetic values of 90% of the signs and is able to read about 50% of the disc. He assumes that the language on the disc is a form of Indo-European. Other scholars don't confirm this. Some interpretations suggest the text describes rituals, disputes, or hymns, yet no consensus exists. Adding to the mystery, the claim may not even be local to Crete. Others believe it could be a sacred text devoted to a deity related to Minoan goddess worship or talisman. Some theories say the symbols encode secret wisdom, such as alchemical principles, cosmology, or even a key to unlocking lost ancient knowledge. Today, the artifact is displayed at the Heraklion Archaeological Museum, but decipherment is unlikely.